Hello and happy Sunday. I hope you have had a fantastic weekend. I was spending some time last night doing some game prep for this coming Wednesday, and I thought, this might be a cool thing to share with y'all to see it like a crash course into how I do some game prep for Roll20 and using Paint.net. So stick around here and I will get right into that. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Gregory and this is a daily vlog where I talk about D&D, RPGs, and all sort of gaming related stuff. Like today, we're going to talk right about now how to do tokens for Roll20 and how to actually set up a character real quick, like an NPC in your Roll20. So I'm gonna try to just jam through this, and if this is interesting for y'all, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more, or perhaps even a more in-depth, like an actual how-to, like a tutorial. I could do that. I think I could do that. So just let me know if that'd be something you guys are interested in seeing more of this. So without further ado, let me get right into it and show you how I handle setting up Roll20. I love tokens. I'm going to say before I get started, super quick. I like using miniatures. So if I'm sitting at a table, I use miniatures with a battle map. To me, that's super fun. It gives me a visual cue for the action of what's happening in combat. I am totally comfortable doing theater of the mind, like 100% theater of the mind, especially if the DM is really good at that. I just happen to like, I'm kind of an old school gamer. I did lots of other tabletop gaming like Warhammer 40K and Warhammer Fantasy and similar battle games. So I like the tokens. And when you're in Roll20, you can certainly do theater of the mind in Roll20 very easily. And they also happen to have this awesome battle grid system that works pretty darn good most of the time. So I tend to use it. I think everybody should use it. I dig it. So here's how I use it, right? Let's get into this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to Paint.net. So Paint.net is a free program. I highly recommend it. It's similar to like Adobe Photoshop. However, it's open source, so it's free, and there's add-ons. There's like packages that you can go in. So I recommend Boltbait is one that works real good. He gives you some extra effects and so forth that you can use. There's a fantastic how-to done by Taking 20. So I would recommend you go check out Taking 20, and his channel is amazing. He does awesome stuff. I learned how to do this from him. So check this out. I set up a blank token. Very simple. I have my layers set up over here on the right, and I will explain them as I go along. Now, the very first thing I want to do is, because I don't want to overwrite my existing drawing, first thing I do is save as, and right now we're working with a Paint.net file, so you can see some of the other tokens I've made. And I'm going to do right now a giant octopus right there, but I want to call this giant octopus enemy because I have one set up already as a token that my player can use if she wants to summon creatures. One of our druids does that, and they are very effective. So tip for all you druids out there. Now the next thing you do is select, you find an image that you like, and then you just paste it in. Now in here you're going to hit keep canvas size because I don't want to change the canvas. Then I just zoom out, and what I recommend doing, and then I hold down shift, grab a corner, and slide it down to about the right size. Now I recommend using images that are either royalty free or that you of course own the rights to. Those work great. Similarly, you can also I also will use a lot of the D&D images, like the actual D&D, like from the monster manual, that kind of thing, because we're playing D&D, so I like to try to use the authentic stuff as much as possible. You can also go to a site like this image here was taken from unsplash.com, unsplash.com. And this is a royalty-free image, so I'm going to use that. So I move it to about the right size. Next thing I do is grab the magic wand, and I'm going to click down here in the background. I adjust this to get pretty much all the black out of there. So just about that looks pretty darn good, actually. And then I'm going to hit Edit, Invert Selection. And then I'm going to Control C. And then I'm going to go up here to layer 10 and hit Control V. Now you'll see what happens. Now you might notice down here, but as soon as I click off layer 6, which is my background image, all that other stuff disappears, right? And all I'm left with is this image of the octopus. Now I'll show you why I did that. I'm going to do another thing here. I'm going to select the magic wand again, but I'm going to go to another layer, the ring layer here, and select the ring. Check this out. Then I go back to layer 10, turn off the ring layer, and I select my erase token. So now what I'm going to do is size it up a little bit. I'm going to erase all this, and notice how it just erases what's inside the ring. So what I do is clean this up. That way you don't see it as much, and then I'm going to zoom in here. Now what this does is this sort of gives the tokens a little bit of a 3D effect. And you'll see in just a moment here how I handle this. Just clean that up a tiny bit. Then I'm going to hit escape, get rid of that magic thing, get rid of that, and just clean that just a touch. Get rid of some of that super dark outside. Okay, there. That looks clean, a little bit fuzzy there. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the background image on again. Once again, I'm using magic wand. Go back to, actually I can do it on layer 6 here. See how it selects just the circle. Then I go back to my octopus, Control C. Now I'm going through this real fast. Again, this is like a crash course. So if this is at all interesting, of course you can always just rewind and watch it again. But let me know. I'll give you a slower, more in-depth, like actual how-to. So then I'm going to hit Control V on the layer 10. Okay, so now we have that layer. Actually, you know what? I'm going to undo that. I'm going to put layer 10 above layer 9. I'm going to put layer 9. I'm going to put this image there. Control V. Then I turn off layer 6 again. Now you'll see what I have. I have a token where it's got an image in the center. Oh, I see. I missed something here. Check that out. So that must be on layer 10. And then I'm going to hit the erase and get rid of that little black dot. Okay, so now, as I was saying, now you have a token where, because I took this tentacle up on the top right there and popped it out in front of the ring, it gives it a little bit of a 3D effect. So, again, in a nutshell, that's the down and dirty. That's how I quickly set up a token. I save that, then I hit File Save As, and I save it as a PNG. PNGs are smaller files that are cleaner and easier to work with. Click OK, hit Flatten, let it do its thing. Now I'm going to switch over to Roll20. So when I get into Roll20, oh hey, here's a great tip, something I did recently in Roll20 that I really recommend, because for me at least, it's been a huge time saver, and it's just made it easier for me to keep track of everything while I'm running the game, is that I love using folders to organize all your NPCs and things like your handouts and that kind of thing. So like, you'll notice that I have a tab for characters, which has all the information for the characters, and my handouts for the things that I've shared with the characters. I have the humanoids, have all my different stuff for the different like bandits and cultists and goblins and so forth. And I've just found this to be super helpful to use folders to organize and keep it clean, and it's easy to go through that in a real quick pinch when you need something on the fly. So there's another little tip for Roll20 for you. So when I get into Roll20, the first thing I'm going to do is add a new character. I'm going to upload my image that I just created. Click to upload, then I navigate to where the image is, and giant octopus enemy. Open that. It will populate into this avatar. It only takes a moment. Well, assuming you have fast internet speed like I do, it only takes a moment to upload generally. There it is. Now I hit Save Changes. Now that's just the picture, nothing else. The next thing I do is open up the character sheet, and I scroll all the way down. Now I'm using the shaped character sheet. If you're using the other ones, it's very similar. All you want to do is make it an NPC. Okay, then you can fill in your NPC images. Now, what I also recommend is use the compendium, the SRD. I've already gotten giant octopus here. I simply drag, drop. Now, while I talk and tell you about this, it's going to auto-populate the giant octopus with all of its stats, its abilities, and there you go. It's pretty much ready to go. Next thing I do is close this, and I'm going to set up the actual token itself. I click on I go back to my journal, drag this over onto the screen, and then I'm going to click on that. Giant octopuses are large, so I spread it out a little bit. It's a little darker than I would have liked, but it still looks kind of cool, and you guys get the idea. Click on the cogwheel, and I see that this is all set up as giant octopus. It represents the giant octopus. Now, one thing I like to do, and this is just the way I do it, you should do it your own way. I recommend you figure out your own system. I set up my passive perception, which is going to be 14 for this octopus, in the green bar. I use armor class for the blue and hit points in the red. And one thing I do is, because I don't want the token to actually affect the character sheet, once I have the hit points in bar 3, then I switch it back to none. That means that, and then I save changes. That means that this individual token has that red bubble as 52 out of 52, but it's not really tied to anything in particular. And if I adjust that, it will automatically adjust the hit points. I'll go into that some other time. I want to finish what I'm doing here. So one more time, I open up the giant octopus sheet. I click edit, use selected token, save changes, and then what you'll see, once this is done, I close that. Then if I come over here and drag out another giant octopus, well, I've been battling with this. The size has been funky, but I can easily upsize it. And I'll notice now when I drag and drop, it's got my hit points, armor class, and passive perception already set to go. So there you go. That's how I do tokens on Roll20. I love Roll20. I think it's pretty awesome. It has been super effective for me. I am going to go back here. That might look a little weird. Let's go back here. There you go. So that's how I use Roll20. That's how I do tokens on Roll20. I went through that super fast, so I understand if that was like confusing and there's lots of questions. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have. I find Roll20 to be very good for a lot of things, not good for some other things, but it's free to play on. I do pay for the subscription because I like dynamic lighting. So I pay for I think it's $4.99 a month for dynamic lighting and some other features. I recommend that. You don't have to do it. You can use Roll20 for free. It's a great virtual tabletop to play with lots of people from all over the world. And I've mentioned it many, many times on the other DnDailies. It allows me to play with my friend Reed, who's over in Australia, and with Michelle, who is in Texas, and Brett, who's now in California. My brother is in Singapore, and friends from all over the world can get on Roll20 and play a game. And isn't that cool? There are other systems out there. Roll20 is just the one that I happen to be the most familiar with. I also like Paintnet. Again, it's a free software and it's user-friendly. It's pretty easy to learn, and it does it has the functionality that I'm looking for. I'm not an actual artist. If I was, then I'd probably using Photoshop or something like that. That was, a more expensive, more robust software. But hey, for me, it works. I think it'll work for you too. And I believe this was useful. I would love to get feedback from you guys if this was an interest to you, and if you dug it, let me know. Let me know in the comments. That's what they're for. I will love to see you at a table someday. Until then, by all means, keep rolling 20s, and remember, it's your game. Play your way.